Welcome. We are going to start at the center of our mat, standing in a mountain pose, hands alongside your hips or palm to palm at your chest at your heart center. Taking a moment just to center yourself, feel your balance in between your heels and your toes, not rolling to the center of the feet or the outer edges of the feet, but perfectly balanced over those feet. Softness in the knees, but strong through the legs. Tucking the tailbone slightly and elongating all the way up the spine. We're going to rotate the wrists, the fingertips, if palms are at the chest, towards the earth, and then back in towards your chest. And we're just going to do this a couple of times, stretching out those forearms, those wrists, and then go ahead and roll the wrists out. Bring palms down alongside the hips. Spread the fingers wide. Reach down through those fingertips and extend up through the crown of your head. From here, we'll inhale, sweep, and reach those fingertips up towards the ceiling or the sky. Exhale, swan diving into our first forward fold. So feel free to keep bend in the knees. Inhale, we'll come about half high, straighten the spine. Exhale, bend. And then we're going to move into our first chair, sitting back. Arms can extend straight up from the shoulders, or they can remain at the chest if your shoulders are not feeling the best or the back needs a little extra support. Keeping knees either in line with the toes or behind the toes. Inhale, straighten, reach up. Exhale, hands back down alongside the hips. We're going to sit back into that chair. This time, airplane arms. Sweep the palms back behind you. Palms facing up towards the ceiling or the sky. Thumbs in. Spread those fingers wide. Squeeze the shoulder blades. And then we'll inhale, sweep, stand, and reach it all the way up to tall mountain. Exhale, hands back to the chest. Playing with a little bit of balance, you can rock up onto the toes and then back to the heels, back to our chair pose. This time we're going to try our balancing figure 4. So we'll pick the right foot up, crossing it above the left knee or thigh, and then maybe sink a little bit deeper, bringing forearms towards the leg. We'll stand up. We're going to exhale, sit back into that chair, find the balance now on the right foot, lifting left foot on top of that right knee or thigh. Maybe sinking a little deeper. And then we will inhale, straighten and stand it up. Release that foot underneath the hip. Inhale, sweep and reach the arms up to the ceiling or sky. Exhale into our airplane, so folding parallel to the floor. And then arms reaching straight back from those hips. Engaging the upper back, the shoulder blades. Squeeze the shoulder blades up towards the sky or ceiling and in towards each other. And then we'll inhale, sweep, and reach a tall mountain, extending up. Exhale, let those hands now interlace behind the back, opening through the chest, interlacing fingers, maybe even pressing palms into each other as we squeeze those shoulder blades towards each other. If it's comfortable, lift the palms back behind you, away from the hips. A little bit of an upper back arch. And then we'll inhale, release those arms back up towards the sky, hands back to the chest. So we'll step the right foot forward and then step the left foot back, taking our warrior 1 stance. So heels in line, unless you're challenged in your balance, then separate those a little wider. We're going to bend into that front right knee, trying to square the hips up towards the front of the mat. And then extend up through those hands, reaching up towards the sky or ceiling, spreading those fingers wide. Engage through the forearms. Feel the muscles hugging the bones. And then palms to the chest. We're going to take a twist over that right knee or thigh. If that's a little too much, just stay in that tall warrior 1. Otherwise, a modified twisting warrior 1. And then as you inhale, we will bring it back up towards the sky. And then this time, we're going to shift up into our high lunge on that right leg. So lift the left heel, hands at the chest, deepening that a little bit more. We'll inhale, reach the arms back up towards the sky or ceiling, perhaps sinking those hips a little more deeper, knee a little more towards parallel over that right heel. And then we will interlace those hands behind the back, sweep those back. Again, maybe press palms into each other, opening up through the chest, and then perhaps dipping that right shoulder towards that right knee, lifting fingers towards the sky. We'll sweep the hands back down to the mat, Place those palms to the ground, and then we're going to spin the right heel down to the mat. So warrior two legs, but then open that up into that side angle. So right palm or fingertips to the inside of the right foot, left arm up towards the sky. Inhale, sweep that up to our warrior two stance. Extend out through those fingertips, straight out over the legs. Deep bend in that front right knee as we inhale, sweep the right arm up towards the sky or ceiling. We're going to bring that back through to our warrior two, straightening the right leg, and then our extended side angle, straightening the right leg, right arm down to the inside of that right leg, left arm up towards the sky or ceiling. Maybe lowering that arm in line with the spine, so straight line from the left heel out through those left fingertips. And then we're going to sweep that up to our warrior two. Bring those hands together in front of the chest. And then we're going to switch that into our high lunge and then see if we can float the left foot up and back into warrior three legs. Hands may remain at the chest or they may extend straight out in line with the spine, reaching towards the front. We'll bring hands back to the chest. Inhale, standing it up, still balancing on just that right leg. And then we're going to bring the left knee bent behind us, taking hold of that foot or ankle. Take a moment to stretch through the quadriceps, so squeezing the heel in towards or into the glute. And then we're just going to take a modified dancer's pose. So we're going to press the top of that foot or ankle into the palms, opening up through the front of the chest. We'll relax that down, release the foot down. We're going to see if we can stay strong through that right leg, sitting back, tucking the left knee behind and to the outer edge of that right ankle. Seeing if you can square the hips up there, otherwise that left leg can straighten. We're going to come into a spinal twist from here. So straightening the spine, and then with an exhale, we'll twist towards that bent right leg. Maybe bringing the gaze back over that right shoulder. Breathing here. Left fingertips back behind the tailbone. As you inhale, we will unwind that twist. And then we're going to see if we can stand it back up onto that right leg and take our standing split here. So fingertips or palms to the mat, folding the chest towards that straight right leg while lifting the left leg as high as we can. Then we're going to release that left leg back behind the right, crossing at the ankles. And then twisting, so a twisted forward fold over towards the right side. Then we'll walk it over towards the left side. And then back to center, we will uncross those feet. Inhale, stand and sweep it all the way up. Hands to the chest. And now we will go ahead and step the right foot back down the mat, finding warrior one stance on that left side. So releasing that entire right foot down into the mat, pressing down, squaring the hips towards the front of the mat. We'll extend the arms up towards the ceiling or sky. Deep breath here. Spread those fingers wide. Then we'll bring the hands to the chest, coming into our modified twisting warrior one here. So we'll bring the right upper arm or elbow on top of that left knee or thigh. Bringing that up into a high lunge, we'll lift the right knee up, maybe extend the stance a little bit. We'll inhale, sweep the arms up towards the sky, our high lunge, reaching up out of the torso, maybe a little back arch there. And then we'll sweep the arms back behind us, interlace those fingers, and again, maybe even the palms pressing in, lifting those hands away from the back of that leg. And then perhaps bowing that left shoulder towards that left knee, lifting the hands now towards the sky or ceiling. Very much optional. And then we will unlace the fingertips, place the palms down alongside that front foot. And then warrior two legs as we open the right arm up towards the ceiling or the sky into our side angle. And then we will sweep the torso up, coming into our full warrior two, extending out through those fingertips, deep bend into that front left knee. Straightening through the left leg, we'll go ahead and hinge at the hips, bringing that right arm up towards the sky into our extended side angle. Maybe lowering that arm above the ear, straight line from that right heel up through the right fingertips. We're going to inhale, come back up, bring palms to the chest, back up to our high lunge, leaning it forward, trying to find our balance. And then maybe with strong left leg, gently stepping, floating the right leg up into warrior three legs. Hands remain at the chest, or maybe they extend straight out from the spine. We're going to see if we can now stand it up, and then that modified dancer's pose, take hold of the top of that right foot or right ankle back behind us, squeezing it into or towards the glute. And then strength of that leg, pressing that foot into the hands, opening up through the chest, a bit of a upper back bend there. Deep breath, and then we will release that foot back down. See if we can cross that right knee behind the left, sitting that all the way down, preparing for that spinal twist now to the left side. Again, if the hips are not quite both flat to the floor, then we will straighten the right leg. On an exhale, we'll twist towards the left. Left fingertips back behind the tailbone, maybe gaze back over that left shoulder. Pausing here. With an inhale, we will unwind the spine, place those hands back down, see if we can stand back up with that strong left leg into our standing straddle split. Palms or fingertips towards the floor, maybe folding that torso towards that leg as we lift opposite. And then we're going to go ahead and bring the right ankle behind the left. Walk again, those hands over towards the right side, so we're in a modified forward fold, and then back through center, and then over to the left. And then back to neutral. We'll uncross those ankles, folding it forward a little bit deeper, maybe swaying it around, shifting it around there. If it's comfortable, we can interlace the forearms behind the backs of the knees or thighs, folding it a little bit deeper. Then we will bring fingertips back to the mat and inhale, sweep and reach it all the way up. Exhale, hands to the chest. We will move into camel pose from here. So bring the toes and the heels all the way into touch. Straight legs, bringing palms or fists into the bones of the lower back. Squeeze the elbows towards each other, and then maybe start to arch that back. We want to keep this into the upper back and the middle back. So not dumping into the lower back. Maybe the chest shines up towards the sky or ceiling. With an inhale, we'll fold it forward, and then exhale, reverse that, folding it forward towards the earth. Forward fold. Maybe sway it around, shift it around a few moments here. Release any pressure, any tension from the back. We're going to balance up onto the toes, bend the knees. Kind of a balancing chair pose with fingertips to the mat. Doing this a few times. And then from here, we're going to move into our side crow pose, if that's within your practice. So we'll place the palms down, shoulder distance apart, with knees stacked towards the left side. And then maybe start to shift that weight, maybe toes start to float up away from the floor there. Then we'll lower it down, and we're going to switch directions. So we'll bring stacked knees over to the outside of the right arm. Tuck those knees to the outside of the right elbow or forearm, or upper arm, I should say. And then see if you can start to shift the weight over to the left, perhaps floating those toes up from the ground. Just holding for a breath or two. Then we'll release that back down to the mat. We're going to release that down to child's pose. Go ahead and fold that all the way down to the earth. Extending through the arms. Extended child's pose. From here, we're going to go ahead and inhale forward and come into our downward facing dog. Taking a moment to pedal out the feet, stretching those heels to or towards the floor. And then we're going to shift it forward either into full or modified plank. And then back to downward facing dog. You're lifting up onto the toes, and then we'll inhale right leg up and back to the ceiling. Three-legged dog. We'll point and flex through that foot a few times. Rotate the foot a little in each direction. Deep breath in to extend back, and then exhale to float it forward, either into full or modified plank, seeing if we can tap that right knee to the outer right tricep. Bringing that thigh now over to the left tricep. Inhale, extending it back, three-legged dog. Exhale again, tapping that knee or thigh to the outside of that right tricep. Inhale, sweep it back. Exhale, back over towards that left elbow or tricep. Inhale, back. And then tapping it one more time to the outside of that right knee or thigh. We're going to pause and hold there for a breath, really engaging those abdominals. And then we're going to shift that down into pigeon. Sweep that right foot across to the left side. Release that right thigh to the mat. That right outer edge of the calf or shin across the mat. Sitting tall for a moment, we'll extend back through those left toes. And then if it feels good, we'll release down, maybe a bend in the elbows, down to the forearms, or maybe forehead all the way down to the mat. Pausing to just rest and breathe here. If there's intensity, we will breathe through it, as long as there's not pain or discomfort. Otherwise, you will make your way out. Otherwise, just feeling yourself letting go with those exhales. Softening with every breath. We will place those forearms down to the mat, palms rotating down, gripping the mat, coming into a Sphinx Pyramid combination. So pulling slightly through the palms, the elbows without shifting them back, just engaging the upper back. And then we'll go ahead and lift up onto the fingertips and then see if King Pigeon is within our range today. We'll reach the left arm back, see if we can find the top of that left foot. And then maybe right arm comes back. Maybe both hands can both reach back and hold. And very much like our modified dancer's pose here, pressing the feet into the hands, big arch to the back. We'll place those palms back down, place the extended leg back down, and then we're going to tuck those left toes back under and then float it back up to that three-legged dog. From here, we'll scorpion the dog, bend at the knee. Maybe you want to circle the the knee around. Maybe you want to shift that around a little bit. And then we're going to extend that back up to three-legged dog, and then go ahead and release that foot alongside the left. And then when you're ready, we'll inhale left leg up and back, three-legged dog. Maybe point and flex that foot a few times. Maybe circle the foot a little in each direction. And then we will begin that plank flow with one leg. So either into full or modified plank, we'll squeeze that left knee or thigh to the outer left tricep. Inhale, extend it back. And then seeing if we can cross the body over towards the right tricep. Inhale back, coming back forward, knee to that left tricep or elbow, inhaling back. Exhale again over to the opposite side. Pause there, inhale, reach it back. One more time over to that left tricep. We're going to pause and hold for a breath or two, a lot of strength through the abdominals, and then sweep that foot across the mat. Pigeon pose now on that left side. Extend the right toes back, straight right leg. Pause up high on those fingertips, maybe tenting up the fingertips for a moment. Sinking those hips a little bit deeper, finding balance between the weight on the hips, and then maybe bending at the elbows, maybe releasing to forearms, maybe all the way down to the mat. And again, relaxing and breathing here. If you feel like you cannot relax and breathe, maybe we've taken it a little too far today, you can always come back up out early. This goes for all of the poses, of course. Meeting yourself on the mat where you are today, where your body is today. With every exhale, softening just a little bit more. And then we'll come into that Sphinx and pigeon combination. Bringing forearms, palms down into the mat, gripping, pulling the chest forward. And then we will lift up onto the hands, the palms. Seeing if king pigeon feels like it's within our range today. Right arm reaches back, see if it can find the top of the foot or ankle, and then the left reaches back. And then maybe both will take hold of that foot. And then press the foot into those hands to open up through the chest, to find that arch in the upper back. Strengthen that right leg. And then we will release the hands back down, release that extended leg back, tucking the toes. We will come back up to our three-legged dog. Perhaps taking a scorpion there for a moment, which I forgot. And then we're going to shift forward into our plank, maybe into chaturanga, so lowering sort of our push-up position, hovering on the palms and the toes, and then flipping into either our upward dog, tops of feet and hands, or release the pelvis down into our cobra pose. And then we're going to come back to downward facing dog. We're going to release down to the knees into a wide-legged child's pose with arms extended out long. Pausing and resting here for a moment or two. And then from here, we're going to lift up to all fours to our tabletop. Palms underneath the shoulders. We're going to move into thread the needle. Inhale, reach right arm up towards the ceiling or sky. Exhale, weaving it down. Release the outer edge of the right shoulder, right side of the head to the mat. Back of the left hand pressing into the mat. Maybe straightening left leg up, lifting that knee, tapping those toes to that left corner of the mat. Releasing tension across that right shoulder blade here. Pausing here for a few moments. And then we will slowly unwind, come back to our tabletop. Feel free to wiggle it side to side, a cat and cow or two before you reverse directions. Once that does feel complete, we're going to inhale the left arm up towards the sky or the ceiling. And then we will exhale, weaving that thread, that needle. We'll release the left outer edge of the left shoulder, left side of head to the mat. Maybe stopping there, or maybe extending those right toes back, lifting the right knee, tapping those toes to the right corner of the mat. And again, we will pause and breathe here. And then we'll slowly unwind, come back to all fours. Again, feel free to wiggle the spine side to side or take a cat and cow or two. And then release that back to child's pose with arms extended out in front of you once again. This time we're going to roll up to seated onto the heels. You can stay there or sit onto a block. Otherwise, we are going to separate the feet out alongside the hips into our hero pose. So again, you can sit up onto a block or a folded blanket between those feet if that feels best. Or just opt out if your knees are not open to this pose. And then we're going to bring the hands back behind us, right underneath those shoulders. And if it feels okay, we're going to turn this into a modified fish pose. So we're going to release the forearms down to the mat. Elbows coming right underneath the shoulders. Palms are going to slide underneath those glutes, pressing into the palms, and then maybe dipping your head all the way back until it lightly touches the mat. Big chest opener there. Deep breaths. Feel that space come through the chest, across the clavicles. Not releasing the weight onto the head, it's on the arms there. And then we will make our way out very slowly. First lift the head, then come up onto the palms, off of those feet, and then back into that extended child's pose. Maybe knees and feet back into touch. From there, we'll inhale, come up to seated. This time we're actually going to bring the legs out in front of us. Extend up through the spine for a moment. Extend out through those legs. We're going to come into incline plank. So we're going to bring either palms or fists underneath the shoulders, fingertips in line with the toes if you're doing palms, pressing up into those feet to lift up onto the hands and the feet. Head in line with the spine, lifting those hips up towards the sky or the ceiling. Straight line from toes to the crown of your head. And exhale, we'll release it down. Take the weight off the wrists. Inhale, reach up, maybe roll out the wrists. Exhale, swan diving into our forward fold. We'll breathe there a few moments. Inhale, straightening the spine, and then exhale, folding forward more deeply. Few more flows, easing into the spine, easing into the backs of the legs. And then perhaps we will hold it down deeply, or you can just soften all the way down, let gravity do the work. Let the arms hang, or maybe even melt down towards the mat. Maybe head hangs towards the legs. Just relaxing and breathing. And with an inhale, we'll straighten the spine back up. And then take the time you need. Just eventually, when you're ready, you can go ahead and roll all the way down onto your back. Once you make your way down onto your back, you can hug those knees into the chest, maybe rock that side to side a few times. And then we are going to move into a bridge pose from here. So first thing is we're going to tuck the tailbone under and flatten the low back firmly into the mat. So hips roll back, and then we're going to press into those feet to lift the hips up. Then we're going to bring palms either down alongside where the hips were, or we can interlace the hands underneath where the back was. Straight arms. And then pressing that outer edge, that tricep, outer edge of the forearms, and palm into the mat. You can stay here or lower down at any point that feels best. If you have a shoulder stand practice, you can flip the feet up, first bringing knees to the ears, palms to the lower back, and elbows bent in. Somewhat similar to our camel pose, but with chin tucked towards the chest. Maybe bring the elbows in a little bit closer, palms pressing into the lower back, start straightening those legs up towards the ceiling or sky. At all times, keeping your gaze straight up towards where those toes are. We do not want to move the head side to side. This could severely injure that cervical spine, especially if you have an injury from the past. We're going to move through a half plow if that's within your practice, lowering and tapping one set of toes, then lifting the leg, and then opposite set of toes, and then maybe both sets of toes, lower down over the head, tapping down to the mat. If it's comfortable, you can straighten the arms out, once again interlacing those fingers, pressing down into those straight arms, triceps and edge of the forearms. And then see if you can slowly bring those feet back up. Hands can come back to the low back, flipping gently back into our. And then from here, we're going to take the reverse of that pose, going into fish pose next. So when you're ready, we're going to bring palms down alongside the hips. And then we're going to rock the hips side to side, sliding the backs of the palms underneath the glutes. Slide those forearms a little closer, and then extending out through the legs. And then we will press into the hands, into the forearms to float. Lift the upper arms, lift the chest, the entire spine up from the mat. And then dipping once again that crown of your head back to lightly touch on the mat there. A few breaths there. So that's just creating that big arch, that compression of the spine where we had done the opposite of rounding everything forward. To make our way out, we will first lift the head up with a deep breath in, and then we will exhale and lower the entire spine all the way back down to the mat. And again, you can hug those knees into the chest, rock that side to side a few times. From there, we'll come into happy baby. So we will reach down either with the first two pointer fingers, wrapping them around the big toes, big toe lock, or you can bring hands to the outer edge of the feet, or maybe they take hold of the ankles, pulling those knees down alongside the ribs. Spine is completely compressed against the mat, so tailbone doesn't float up. We keep it pressed down, rock that side to side. And then we're going to come into a spinal twist. So arms are going to extend straight out from the shoulders or into cactus arms. Shift the hips over to the left a little bit, and then rock those knees over to the right side. If this feels good, let your chin roll towards that left shoulder. If it feels like too deep of a twist, we can always place a blocker blanket underneath that outer edge of that right thigh or knee or shin. Otherwise, resting and breathing here for a few moments, just enjoying this supine spinal twist. Finding this to be effortless. Then we'll slowly bring the knees, the chin back up. We're going to shift those hips back through the center and then over to the right slightly. And then rock those knees, those legs over to the left and down to rest. Again, adjust however you need to. If it feels good with your cervical spine, let your chin roll towards that right shoulder. And again, finding this to be effortless. Make any adjustments you need so you can just relax and let go here. Let the arms, the shoulders melt back and down into the earth. And then with an inhale, we'll bring the chin, the knees back up, reposition those hips in line with the spine. We're going to take a little hamstring stretch, bring right leg straight up towards the torso, straightening that leg and as close into the torso as feels good. Maybe give that a little squeeze, and then we're going to bend at the knee, bring the shin into the palms, or you can bring it to the hands to the back of the thigh and squeeze that in while straightening the left leg straight out to the mat. Then from here, we're going to switch sides, bringing the left leg in, straightening through that leg, pulling it in towards the torso. One more hamstring stretch. And then we'll bend at that knee, hands around that left shin or behind the back of that thigh, straightening the right leg all the way down to the mat. Just a little hip release here. Wind relieving pose. And then we're going to bring this into our figure four. So we're going to cross that left foot on top of the right knee or thigh, just like we did in our standing balance. We're going to squeeze that in towards the chest. Glute stretch there on that left side, outer left hip. We're going to switch those feet, now finding figure four on the right side, crossing that foot or ankle on top of the left thigh, squeezing it in for just a few moments. Again, releasing any pressure in the hip, the glutes. And then we're going to go ahead and release that foot down to the mat. Release both feet down to the mat. We're going to find windshield wiper legs. So rocking both knees over to the right and to the left. It's okay to let the hips rise. Find a little bit of an oblique stretch there, the lower abdominals. And then if it feels good, we're going to pause with knees to the right. Lift those back up and then pause with knees over to the left. We'll bring those knees back up to center and then into our supine butterfly pose. So soles of the feet slide into touch, knees drop and open out wide. Hands, arms resting wherever they feel most comfortable here, resting onto the hips, the abdomen, right alongside the torso. Feeling the breath start to slow down and relax a little bit more. Maybe take some facial stretches, stretch out any tension lingering in the jaw, the muscles of the face, the brow line. And then we're going to come into our final relaxation, extending the legs all the way out, heels to the corners of the mat, maybe a full body stretch for a moment. And then hands relaxing out alongside those hips. We'll let the feet drop open wide, relaxing those hips. I relax my feet and ankles. My feet and ankles are completely relaxed. I relax my shins, calves, and knees. My shins, calves, and knees are completely relaxed. I relax my hips and pelvis. My hips and pelvis are completely relaxed. I relax my hands and wrists. My hands and wrists are completely relaxed. I relax my forearms, elbows, and upper arms. My forearms, elbows, and upper arms are completely relaxed. I relax my upper back, middle back, and lower back. My upper, middle, and lower back are completely relaxed. I relax through my abdomen and ribs. My abdomen and ribs are completely relaxed. I relax through my chest and shoulders. My chest and shoulders are completely relaxed. I allow my entire body to fully relax. My entire body is fully and completely relaxed. Start to notice my breath flowing in and out. And then I'll bring in little subtle movements that maybe start with a finger or a toe. Maybe rocking the feet, the hands side to side, or the head side to side. Letting those movements grow however my body needs most. Maybe it becomes one more full body stretch. Maybe it's one more hug of those knees into my chest, rocking it side to side. And just eventually, when that feels complete, you can rock yourself over to your right side, pausing and resting there for a few moments, a few breaths. Eyes can still just be relaxed and closed. Take as long as you need on your side. Just eventually, when that feels complete, you can start to press yourself back up to whatever seated position feels most comfortable at this moment. Once you find that position, let your hands, your arms come to rest on the knees or thighs. Feel the shoulders sliding down the back, but the crown of the head long with minimal effort. And then when you're ready, we'll bring the palms up to the center of the chest. Thank you so much for joining me today. It is always my honor to teach you. Namaste.